What's going on, Bengals fans? Chris Daughtry here with Bengals Breakdown. And coming up on today's show, we're going to be looking at some free agent targets and some trade rumors out there for the Cincinnati Bengals, especially after the Joe Burrow injury. So I know they signed 2 quarterbacks to their practice squad, but we're still going to look at another option that's been pitched out there as well. We haven't been able to do as many videos as liked this week here on Bengals Breakdown, kind of filling in over on our Cowboys Report channel for Tom Downey, who's out this week. But next week, we're going to be back. We're still going to be live for the Bengals game as well. So do not miss out. Make sure you guys hit that sub button for me, and we'll keep you updated on all things Bengals news. All right, let's get into the trade rumors here first. Heavy Sports actually suggested that the Bengals go out there and trade for quarterback Joe Milton from the Dallas Cowboys. And I'll be completely honest, I don't know if what you got in those free agency signings is anything, worse than what Joe Milton is. Joe Milton might be a, better athlete at the end of the day, but we'll talk about it here a little bit more in just a second. But Joe Milton found his way onto the Cowboys via a trade in this past offseason. The Cowboys getting a 7th-round pick, but also giving up a 2025 5th-round pick for Joe Milton. And, look, Joe Milton is a very good athlete. He has a cannon for an arm, but at times that arm at the same time becomes a little bit of a problem. He really doesn't have much touch on a lot of his throws. And like I said, he can run the ball pretty well, but at the end of the day, at some times he's pretty inconsistent accuracy-wise. So I don't know if I would necessarily, buy this one. Maybe the Bengals would be willing to give up, a 7th-round pick or a 6th-round pick or something like that. But, this was a trade idea that was thrown out there, saying the Bengals do, still need some help at that quarterback position because, I know you went out there and signed, Mike White, but, it's just not the best options, I don't think, at that quarterback spot. So let me know down at the pinned comment of today's show. Would you trade for Joe Milton for the Cowboys? Let me know what you guys think. Type Y for yes or N for no down at the pinned comment of today's video. Now, we also wanted to look at some free agency targets that are still out there. The Bengals right now, their 2025 salary cap, they have around $10.75 million in free cap space available. That's 21st in the NFL. So, compared to the rest of the league, they don't have a ton of space out there, but just did want to throw that out there because if you are going to go out there and sign a free agent to put on this, 53-man roster, it's probably got to be a little bit on the cheaper end. All right, the first free agent. I wanted to start off at that offensive guard spot, especially with the injuries that you've been facing at that position. Let's go with Cody Whitehair. I know this isn't the sexiest name out there. He's played for the Bears for a little bit, then ended up going to the Raiders and didn't necessarily have the, best, season there at the Raiders, but, in 2024, didn't give up any sacks. So it's an option out there at that guard spot. Like I said, we're going to go through some of these names. They're not the best names out there, but there is a reason at the end of the day, a lot of these guys still are unsigned. The next guard here is going to be Brandon Scherff. Now, Brandon Scherff is retired from the NFL, but he is still relatively young. I think he's like 32, 33 years old, something like that. And, a little bit of money, you never know what could end up happening. Maybe he gets that itch if you throw $3 million or $4 million, something like that at Brandon Scherff. He still played pretty good last year for the Jags. Gave up 17 pressures, but still no sacks. That pass block grade was pretty good as well. Like I said, with these injuries right now for the Bengals at that, especially that guard spot, just their entire O-line in general doesn't have a ton of depth on it right now. But Lucas Patrick is going to be out for a little while. And, I know you went out there and you signed Lucas Patrick in the offseason, but, during the preseason, there were a lot of people complaining about Lucas Patrick, including myself. So, if you maybe want to go out there, you can maybe even sign maybe like a Cody Whitehair to the practice squad or something like that. But I do think it would help the Bengals if they went out there and signed an offensive guard. All right, we'll come back to some more names, especially in the secondary here in just a second. But first, want to give a shout out to our friends over at Prize Picks because they're the sponsor of today's show. You and I make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. I use Prize Picks for a ton of different types of sporting events, whether it's professional football, baseball, basketball, and so much more. Prize Picks is a ton of fun, and if you guys know ball, you can win real money all season long on Prize Picks. This is the power play that we got cooked up for this weekend's slate of games, going with Carson Wentz, more than a half an interception. Also, Chase Brown, more than a touchdown. It could be rushing or it could be receiving. And make sure you have the max discount right there for Patrick Mahomes. Only needs a half passing yard in this weekend's slate of games for that one to hit. That's the power play, but the great thing about Prize Picks is they also invented the flex play. With the flex play, it just means that you can still cash out. If your lineup isn't perfect, you can double your money even if one of your picks does not hit. Prize Picks is super simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you can cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money today. So download the Prize Picks app and use promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That link is down in the description of today's show. It's also going to be down at the pinned comment of today's show as well. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Now, I went with a different position here over on the defensive side. How about maybe bringing Carl Lawson back? The Bengals drafted him in the 4th round of the 2017 NFL draft. Ended up kind of, getting a little bit banged up, going to the Jets after he left Cincinnati. And look, I mean, in 2023, Carl Lawson didn't play that much either, for the Jets with another injury that he had there. But look, man, I just think with what you have in, Joseph Osai, maybe this is tomato. It's the same player, different face type of thing. But, just so far this season, he just really hasn't impressed me that much. And especially right now with the injury to Shamar Stewart, maybe you go out there and you sign Carl Lawson to help you out at that edge spot because, like I said, I just really haven't been super impressed at this point in the season. I get it. It's only 2 games in, but, tell me, has anybody really seen Joseph Osai out there? I think he's got 3 tackles this year, no TFLs, no sacks. Maybe somebody else at the end of the day could help you out a little bit more. All right, now to the cornerback spot, because right now the Bengals cornerback room has not played very well at all. Asante Samuel is out there still right now, but he is injured, and it's not going to be right now for him to play if the Bengals were to go out and sign him. Dealing with a neck injury. He is set to undergo a CT scan in October after he had that spinal fusion surgery. So, he's a name out there. He's one of the better cornerbacks that have played here in the past couple of seasons. But like I said, there is some injury concerns right now for Asante Samuel. But, maybe as the season goes on, maybe he clears, checks out pretty good in October, and then the Bengals or somebody else can, bring him in for a workout and a visit or something like that. But I do think that's going to be a name this season to monitor. So name a position group that the Bengals need help, whether that's going out there and trading for somebody or signing somebody in free agency. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section of today's show. Now over to another cornerback now is James Bradberry. Now, he did also miss the entire 2024 season with a lower leg injury, so there is some medical concerns for him as well. But, you go back to that 2022 season was pretty good. The 2021 season was really good as well. Like I said, the Bengals cornerback room right now just has not really played up to their ability. I don't think maybe some things will turn around for them at here in the next couple of weeks as they get a little bit more comfortable in this Al Golden defense. But James Bradberry is another name out there that you could possibly sign in free agency. Cameron Sutton is the next name here as well. Past couple of years, he's been pretty decent anyways, especially in his time with the Steelers. Last year, a little bit of a down year for him, only played 9 games, but before that was a very, good and viable cornerback. So, like I keep saying, I'm going to continue to reiterate it. There's a reason a lot of these guys right now are unsigned, but I'm just listing names that are still out there in free agency that, maybe the Bengals could go out there and sign. So out of these three guys, let me know, pick a cornerback that you guys would sign if you were the Cincinnati Bengals. Type AS if you want Asante Samuel, knowing right now that there is some injury concern with him. James Bradberry as well, coming back from an injury. If you want him, you can type JB in the chat, or CS if you would sign Cameron Sutton. All right, now to safety right now. And I will say as well, I think Geno Stone and Jordan Battle have played a little bit better at that safety spot this year, but a guy that is still unsigned right now is Justin Simmons. And, in the past couple of years, he has been one of the better, safeties out there in the NFL. And I just wanted to point this out, too. A couple months ago, back in August, Chad Ochocinco actually tweeted at Justin Simmons saying he loves him and, not tampering or anything like that. But have you tried Skyline Chili? Basically, hinting that he wants him in here in Cincinnati. And then Justin Simmons goes out there and quote tweets it and basically is saying, my guy, I've heard about, Skyline Chili, and I would love to try it someday. So, look, it's another option. Justin Simmons, when he was with the Falcons, was really, really good. Like I said, one of the better safeties in the National Football League. And he also helps you out a little bit in the run game as well. So just another name that we're going to continue to monitor here during the 2025 season. All right, the last name here is Darnell Savage. Now, Darnell Savage did just get let go by the Jaguars. He had some, playing time, and, his snaps kind of got cut back a little bit. But, look, last year he was really, really good, and he helped the Jags out a lot in the run game as well. 42 tackles for him. Also had a bunch of stops, which is, stops is basically a tackle that's considered a win for the defense. Most of the time, that's kind of like right there, right at the line of scrimmage. So it's not a TFL, but it's not a sack either. But it's not a, gain either anyways. But look, you're going out there and there's a reason, like I keep saying, a lot of these guys are unsigned, but we just want to continue to update you guys on, some of those names that are still out there that could possibly help the Cincinnati Bengals.